April 24th, 1964, Socorro, New Mexico. Police officer Lonnie Zamora witnesses an oval object on 4 legs with 2 humanoids less than 100 feet away in broad daylight. The object quickly ascends, leaving burnt bushes and 4 imprints on the ground. 2 days later, a nearly identical object is witnessed 150 miles away in La Madera, New Mexico. Both cases are investigated by the original UFO hunter, J. Allen Hynek, and his student, Ted Phillips.
I did start out as a skeptic, and I was kind of a convert after Socorro, New Mexico. There were 4 imprints in the ground where the landing legs had gone in, and some small, what appeared to be footprints. And this is truly one of the good cases, the very good cases.
We have looked at the work of Ted Phillips for years. We have respected what he's done. He's a person that, before it was popular, went out and started collecting evidence of landings of UFOs, what he called landing trace effects. This is physical evidence that something's going on.
As a UFO hunter, my job really is simply to gather the hard evidence to support UFO sightings. Over the past 36 years, I've been involved with or personally investigated somewhere around 600 cases.
Because of the amount of trace evidence, the Socorro, New Mexico case was a turning point for many UFO hunters, including J. Allen Hynek.
Allen talked about this case. He told me later that he began to see that something, in fact, was taking place because this was a daylight sighting by a police officer with other witnesses and the finding of physical traces at the landing site. So this is why then 4 years later, he suggested to me to specialize in landing cases, especially with physical evidence, for the simple reason that you can look at 1,000,000 lights in the sky and it produces really nothing except 1,000,000 reports of visual observation.
Dr. Hynek always suggested that people specialize. Ted listened, and he did specialize, and that's why he became so well known for trace effect investigations.
To this day, the Socorro landing is still listed in government files as unexplained. Phillips' archives are filled with cases that he calls significant.
Significant case would be one in which we have multiple witnesses, good seeing conditions, close range, plenty of time for the individuals to figure out what they're looking at, and resulting physical residue of some kind. In other words, the object is at that site and it generates physical traces on the plants, on the soil, tree damage. It can go several ways.
Some of the cases he's investigated couldn't have been done in normal ways. You couldn't have faked it, for instance. It had to be something unusual, unconventional, that flew in, landed. It actually changed the environment, and then it left.
I believe that we're dealing with constructed devices under some kind of intelligent control. And that's based on the data, the facts, period.
While Phillips may lead the way in land investigations, other UFO hunters are looking to the sea. Considering the fact that water covers about 70% of our planet, a significant part of the UFO research occurs at sea. UFO hunter Paul Stonehill has spent more than a decade examining declassified Soviet documents that detail such sightings.
When the Soviet Union started disintegrating, I decided to form a so-called Russian UFO Research Center to be a bridge between Soviet ufologists and their American counterparts. The Soviets knew that there were objects and phenomena that they could not explain, grasp, or capture. So they wanted to study it. Some of the most interesting cases took place in 1960s and 70s when Soviet submarine commanders would encounter gigantic objects chasing them to deep waters. Huge objects would ascend from the ocean. Cigar-shaped objects would hover over Soviet ships, observe, move about at great speeds.
Stonehill specializes in what researchers call USO encounters.
A USO is unidentified submersible object. A UFO is unidentified flying object. The Soviet military intelligence, and especially naval intelligence, had been very much interested in the USOs simply because they wanted to assess the threat presented. They had examples, even back in 1982, for example, in Lake Baikal, when local commanders tried to capture one of the so-called gigantic swimmers. Machinery was destroyed, people died, human beings died while trying to capture the unknown phenomenon. And the Soviet High Command decided not to lose any more people. There was nothing they could do about the so-called observers. It's not easy to study the UFO and USO phenomena as it pertains to the Soviet Union and Russia. Secrecy has always been in fashion, whether in Russia or the Soviet Union. I truly believe that whatever is hidden in the files is fascinating to an extent that when it comes available, if it ever does, it would change the course of history of our planet.
But while some scour archives and documents, other UFO hunters explore well beyond the physical environment.
A lot of people that investigate UFOs eventually broaden their horizons, so to say. They get into metaphysics as well. I think they do that because they didn't get all the answers they wanted, and they feel that there's something bigger out there than the physical science that we've been dealing with.
One such UFO hunter is John Rixey Moore. Throughout the 1990s, he traveled the globe investigating a phenomenon commonly associated with UFOs, crop circles.
A fresh one definitely is a physiological experience. It's something that makes your hair stand up. When you're walking in one, it's very interesting to note that normally the center of the vortex that formed it is not necessarily the center of the image, of the glyph. It's off-centered. If you walk with the lie of the plants, you get the feeling that you're walking downhill. You can get going too fast. That's the sensation you get. When you turn around and walk against the lie of the plants, you have the exact opposite sensation. You become breathless. It feels like you're walking uphill. Some people react so dramatically to them that they begin to get nauseous as they approach them.
UFO hunter Ruben Uriarte has also experienced firsthand the physiological effects that Moore has encountered.
Over the years that I've had the opportunity to walk into crop circles, I've noticed from a number of other people who are also in the formation sharing their bodily sensations, some of them feeling very dehydrated, some feeling nauseated. Sometimes that has happened to me too, where I feel nausea. It's a sense that there's some sort of sensation that's going on with you. I'm a UFO hunter because I want to know what's going on. I want to know what's going on this planet. I want to know how it connects, how it affects us, and I want to solve the mystery. And through that, I'll do whatever it takes to get there. And that's why it's important for me to continue on this hunt for the truth.